Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be looking at how I incorporate using primary colours into my art journal. So I'm starting off with this amazing piece of paper from Natalie May's scrapbooking. So it's got the large image and 3 smaller images. And I decided I was going to try and replicate the background a little, which had sort of, when I say primary colours, it's kind of using the printing primary colours of magenta, cyan and yellow, which I wanted to use around this image. So I'm just going in with similar colours with my glosses, my acrylic gloss inks, because I wanted to see the ledger lines in the back of my journal page. With my paper, I have sort of trimmed it up fairly close, and I ended up tearing the edges because I just wanted those little bits of colour to sort of blend into the colour I had in the background. I also used quite a thin layer of gesso on the back of my image just to keep that whiteness to her face. If I had just pasted it straight down, you would have had all that colour coming through the background, which isn't a bad look sometimes, but sometimes you want to preserve the colour that's already there. So now I've sort of got the image pasted down, I'm going in and doing a little bit of blending in, I suppose, of my image, just a little bit further. And for this I'm going over with the matching paint, which is marine off the top of my head. And then I'm going in and rubbing the paint away with a dryish wet wipe. So I get some texture in the background. So you could see where I began before, I had a fairly harsh line between the yellow and the blue. By doing this and sort of blending out the colours a little bit, it just gave me that little bit of softness to help me blend the colours together. You can see I've done slightly similar with the pink there as well, but because I was using the ink and not a paint, the effect isn't quite as in your face or focal as it was with the blue. So I've just painted out the rest of her shirt with white gesso to extend the image down to the side of the page. I really don't like having floating images, so I always like to ground my image in some way. Now I'm going in with some black gloss acrylic and I'm painting in the leaves in the background. So you can see sort of from the original image there were some leaves, and now I'm just going to extend it through and paint them in. You could stencil this in, you could draw this in, you could use Posca paint pens to do this. I just wanted to keep using the ink, and I'm really glad I did because it just gave me that little bit more fluid effect to my images. I'm using a really fine brush, and it's quite a long tipped brush as well, quite bendy, so that sort of helped me get a little bit more of the shape. And one of the reasons I really liked sort of using this acrylic ink over the top was because I was getting varieties of shades. As soon as I sort of put it on, first of all, it was quite dark. If I used the ink a few times, it sort of got that more grey tone, so it gave me really easily some shading, which would have been a little bit more difficult to do if I just used a straight pen on top of this. If you don't like drawing leaves, you use a stencil, use a stamp, it really doesn't matter. It's just putting some texture, I suppose, in the background of this image. And you can see where I don't particularly like it, I'm going in and adding more or less just to fill it up. Because I had the black paint there, I'm going in and just adding a little bit more detail. So again, this is one of the things I love doing with collage images, because it's already drawn there for you. You can draw over the top of it, make yourself feel like you've drawn it yourself, even though you haven't, and just add that little bit of extra something to the page. So obviously, and as I have explained before, when images are printed, you're never going to get a true black. So by adding a little bit of pure colour over the top can just help sort of boost some of those lines and make them really come alive. Same with the white. So you can see there her eyes now just magically kind of stand out just that little bit more just by having a little dot of white in the eye. That was already there from the collage paper, but because it kind of gets lost a little bit in the printing, by putting it back in again, it just helps to really boost the colour. Because I kind of lost that cyan colour from the background, I decided to add it in again using my gloss paints again over her shirt. And again, one of the reasons I chose to use a gloss was because I'd already drawn those lines on with the black ink. I didn't want to get rid of those with an opaque paint. By having the paint go, or the gloss ink go over that, it just gave a little bit more depth and made it look a little bit more natural. I've then just gone in with a darker blue pencil. This is Stabilo All Pencil in blue, and popped that in as my shading element, and then just blended it in a little with my finger. And that sort of helped to, again, give me a little bit of shade. So you can see with the gloss acrylics in the background, or gloss acrylic ink in the background, it's obviously called gloss because it's got that glossy surface when it dries. So that's one of the main differences, I suppose, between the paint and the gloss inks. The gloss inks are more translucent and are glossy when they dry. The paints are more opaque and are matte when they dry. So it gives you a slightly different effect, and by combining the two you can get some really cool things happening. Now I'm going in, I decided to put a quote around the page. I'm just trying to find a white pen that actually works, because I've kind of used a lot of my pens to death. So, and because I'm not lazy, I get distracted and I'm doing these late at night, so I put it on my desk and go, oh yeah, I'll get rid of that and deal with it in the morning, and then the next day I've totally forgotten to get rid of it and try and use it again. It's still dead. So moral of the story is actually throw things out when you know they need to be thrown out. So I decided to write the quote around her, which kind of pushes the background that we've done into the background, funnily enough, and frames up the image a little bit as well. And I really like this quote, and I think it fits the image really well. So do not let the bitterness steal your sweetness, because she does look very innocent, as opposed to what's sort of happening around her, which I quite like. So now I'm going in with my grey permanent, alcohol marker. Again, I use this because it is a translucent ink, so it gives a true illusion of a shadow. You can still see through it, but it gives you just that darkness that you need without being overpowering. And I would highly suggest, even if you don't tend to use alcohol markers, if you've just sort of got one in a warm grey and a cool grey, it's going to be really, really helpful for you. I also find that I still go around those letters with my black pen, but having the shadow there just gives them that more 3D effect, which I really love, and gives a finished look to the entire page. So that's it really. I love these three colours together. They're ones I use quite regularly, and sometimes people are afraid to use primary colours a bit. So if you are and find them just too much, try using the printing colours of magenta, cyan, yellow. You might feel a little bit more comfortable with them as they blend together, and you can get usually some really good colour mixes from them as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.